believe we're live. Tom here from Cinematax. This is Video Arcane Episode 2, where I'm going to dive into some physical media. I think today we're going to talk about I got the Kill Bill Whole Bloody Affair 4K, so I just have some notes on that. And then I'm going to deep dive into the Jackie Chan's Breakout Hits box set. And if there's anybody watching, let me know if you can hear me okay. Everything's okay, hopefully. So one thing I wanted to quickly go over was the news about the feuding versions of the Nightmare on Elm Street reboot from Paramount and Warner Brothers. I wanted to quickly read part of an article from Dread Central and just give my opinion on it. Let me do it this way. Yeah, so this is Brad Miska of Dread Central. Warner Brothers is reportedly racing Paramount to make its own Nightmare on Elm Street movie, Lee Cronin to direct. And just a few weeks ago, horror fans were stunned when Paramount announced that it had secured the domestic rights to Wes Craven's original A Nightmare on Elm Street screenplay and would develop the next incarnation of the franchise under its new Primal Pictures banner alongside J.D. Lifshitz and Rafael Margules, with the full support of the Craven estate. Not sure if I pronounced this correctly, but at the time, very few details accompanied the announcement, leaving fans with more questions than answers. The biggest one, how exactly would Paramount move forward when Warner Brothers still controls the franchise's international rights? As we've discussed before, the legal situation surrounding A Nightmare on Elm Street is complicated. Following Wes Craven's death, attorney Mark Tauberoff helped the Craven estate regain the domestic rights to the filmmaker's original A Nightmare on Elm Street screenplay, which are now controlled by the estate. Warner Brothers, however, continues to hold the international rights, creating an unusual situation where neither studio possesses complete worldwide control of the property. Now, a new report from Kim Masters at Puck suggests that legal complexity has sparked an all-out race between two studios. According to Masters, Warner Brothers executives Michael DeLuca and Pam Abdy were less than thrilled with Paramount's plans. Sources with knowledge of the matter think Paramount figured that by the time their movie got underway, the Warner Mount deal would have closed and Warner's would be compelled to release the Paramount version overseas. But Warner's Michael DeLuca and Pam Abdy didn't care for that plan. Now they're looking to make their own movie, which they can only distribute overseas, and are in talks with Lee Cronin to produce, write, and direct. While I can't independently verify every detail in Puck's report, I will say this. I've heard remarkably similar chatter from multiple industry sources over the couple of weeks. That doesn't automatically make it true. Hollywood is full of posturing, strategic leaks, and competing narratives. But enough people have been telling the same story that it's hard to dismiss outright. Scott. I guess you can hear me okay, Scott. I'll watch it if it's called Lee Cronin's Nightmare on Elm Street, directed by Lee Cronin. Only if he goes that far. If true, that would mean the filmmaker behind Evil Dead Rise and The Mummy could be developing an entirely separate Nightmare on Elm Street for Warner Brothers. Masters also reports that Paramount strongly disputes any suggestion that its deal relied on the pending Skydance Paramount merger. A source close to Paramount Primal told Puck, the domestic rights deal for the original Nightmare on Elm Street screenplay was negotiated independently. It was not based on any expectation beyond the domestic rights themselves. The report goes on to claim that Warner Brothers had previously approached the Craven estate, but negotiations reportedly broke down. So that's a key point there at the end. And thank you, Scott, for joining me. This is very exciting, like legalese. Um, According to a knowledgeable source quoted by Puck, Warner wasn't willing to go along with the very aggressive back-end split with the rights holders. Again, very key point. That, according to the report, helped pave the way for Paramount's deal with the estate, which includes E.L. Labunka, Jonathan Craven, and attorney Mark Toberoff as producers. And that's enough. All right. So there's some kind of key points in that article. There's other articles talking about this. But basically, to recap, there was a lawyer, Toberoff, that helped the Craven estate acquire the U.S. rights to his original screenplay, Wes Craven's original screenplay. And then Warner Brothers comes to them to try to license it, but the Craven's estate demands a big cut of the profits. So Warner Brothers tells them to fuck off, basically. Then the producers announced that they're moving forward with their Nightmare on Elm Street remake based on Craven's original script. Then, after that happens, Warner Brothers counters announcing their own international version of Nightmare on Elm Street. So, to me, this is we're not actually going to get two movies. This is really just a series of lawyer negotiations, in my opinion. I don't know that for a fact, but that's what it seems like to me. I think it's very, very unlikely that there's going to be like a domestic version of Nightmare on Elm Street remake and then an international, totally different version. Like this is something that eventually will work itself out. Either Paramount produces their own version and distributes it in the U.S., and then maybe Warner Brothers distributes it internationally. And the other part of it is that, as of right now, that Paramount remake, they can only adapt the original script. So you can't adapt anything that's in any iconography or design elements in the actual series, if that makes sense. So, for example, they can have Freddy's glove based on the description in the original script, but if they try to use the same design of the glove from the first movie, Warner Brothers could give them do a cease and desist on that. So if they actually tried to go forward, it could be a big legal pain in the ass if they tried to have competing Nightmare on Elm Street movies. But there was a case, the most comparable case where this actually happened was the Kevin McClory lawsuit, which was the James Bond screenwriter, and it's so we ended up with two competing Bond movies released 4 months apart, which were Never Say Never Again and Octopussy. And I'm not going to get into the whole like backstory of how that happened, but basically, Kevin McClory had the rights to do a remake of Thunderball, and but he could distribute it internationally. It wasn't restricted to just the UK or one country. And then in that case, they were released 4 months apart, and were both released all over the world, and were both big hits. So if you were going to make a case that this could work, I guess you could point to that. But it's sort of an apples and oranges situation. James, they could forget Freddy Krueger, just put a lawyer in there. He doesn't even need the glove with the knives. He can just do lawyering. I mean, that's like the scariest thing of all. I'm getting sweaty. I'm gonna have to turn the fan on. Give me a second. Oh. Ugh. So anyways, that was the point I wanted to make. I don't really think there's going to be two Penguin Elm Street movies. There's just going to be probably an eventual remake based on the original Wes Craven script for part one. It might be a couple of years because there's also the merger, which might take another year to actually go through. So, yeah. Oh, start sweating and getting thirsty. So I'll talk about Kill Bill in a second. I got the Kill Bill Whole Bloody Affair 4K, and it's just the basic version. Oh wait, I forgot the shit. Oh. Okay. So one annoying thing is that it's 4 discs, but there's only two slots, so you're supposed to stack 2 discs on each side. So what I'm going to do is clip out this Kill Bill section, post it as a separate clip, and anyone can leave a comment on that clip and let me know if they want any of these, which are the digital copy, or I have this is a very podunk way to do it, but this is free if anyone wants it. In the US, I'll ship this in the US. The Blu-rays for the Whole Bloody Affair, I don't have a double case, so I put it in a sleeve and then put the slipcase over it. So this is just the 2 Blu-rays for Whole Bloody Affair. If anyone wants it, free, premium packaging. If you're a heathen, when I clip this out, just leave a comment. If you're in the US, I'm not paying $30 to ship this to Australia, or the digital copy. That's a problem solved with the stacking. I just chucked out the Blu-rays from the package. Well, it's already like the podunk edition, not the super edition with the veil. Yeah, so Whole Bloody Affair, and I've said this before, but basically, if people, I guess people still, I'm not sure what the difference is between the Whole Bloody Affair and then the regular Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2 theatrical editions. This is the 2 Japanese edits of Kill Bill 1 and 2 stuck together, and then minus the little coda plot reveal at the end of part 1. And then there's an intermission, and then minus the recap at the beginning of part 2, where the bride is driving and recapping the events of part 1. That's her driving, in case you don't know what driving is. And that's it. And there's just like maybe a few frames apparently that are different here and there, but that's pretty much what it is. So, and just some more water. So again, this is something I've mentioned before, but the way they filmed this movie, I think it was shot in Super 35 millimeter with spherical lenses and then cropped, and then they scanned it. all that footage in 2K digital and then edited the movie and then sent the final 2K digital edit. It's called a film out, where they basically print that back onto 35 millimeter negative film. And then I think they, on the, before that, I think they used noise reduction on the 2K digital file, basically, before printing it on the 35 millimeter negative. But basically, I forgot about the thing, Scott. There's also the additional 7.5 minute anime scene that was added on top of what I mentioned before. That's what I forgot. On top of the differences I mentioned before. Again, Japanese versions of 1 and 2 minus the coda plot reveal at the end of part 1 minus the recap at the end of, or at the beginning of part 2, plus the additional 7.5 minute anime sequence. Yeah, so basically it doesn't look, it only looks a little better than the old Blu-rays in 4K because of the limitations of how they did the entire post-production process. And part of the reason is that there's a lot of like wire removal, and there's some green screens effects, and they wanted to do that all digitally. And there was really, it would have been just outrageously expensive to redo the entire post-production process in native 4K. And also, it's something that I don't think Quentin would want to do, like redo the post-production on one of his own movies beyond tinkering with this edit. So there was really pretty much no chance that they were going to redo the post-production process, which would have had to have been done in order to do like a native, better looking 4K transfer. So it's essentially, as far as I can tell, this is, as far as a representation of what Kill Bill actually looks like, I think it looks very good. The only thing I noticed was that there's that line where the bride says, "Nothing you've done in the subsequent 4 years, including getting knocked up, is going to change that," when she's talking to Vivica A. Fox in her kitchen. There's that one shot. It's like it looks like it's like it's wiggles from like print damage, or it looks like they maybe use a stabilizer on that shot to try to fix it, because it was like the perf was damaged or something when they scanned it, and it's not like that on the old Blu-ray. So I checked. So that was really like the only anomaly that I noticed. And then they might have used a little bit of noise reduction on the back end for this transfer, but I don't think it really matters that much because it's not like a authentic 35 millimeter film. It's sort of a weird hybrid between 2K digital and 35 millimeter. And the other note was that this version was approved by Quentin Tarantino, where the previous 4Ks I've not seen, but those were not approved by him, the picture and sound. What else? Oh yeah, and there's no extras except for that Fortnite promo, which was really stupid, I thought. So I don't know why they didn't at least include the extras from the previous versions. Maybe they want you to buy the previous versions. I don't know. It's pretty stupid. But beyond that, I'm happy with it in terms of the audio and video quality. But again, it's never going to look um, amazing. It's sort of limited by the source material a bit. So it's only a slight upgrade from just a regular Blu-ray. So I just kind of wanted to make that point about it. Oh, all right. We can talk about Jackie Chan. So this month, again, this is, I guess, just in the U.S., but Barnes & Noble is doing a 50% off Arrow sale. So I think you can get this for 50% off from Barnes & Noble in store and on their website. So this is 4K box set, Drunken Master 2, Rumble in the Bronx, Thunderbolt, Police Story 4, First Strike, Mr. Nice Guy, and Who Am I? So I went through and watched all of these movies, and also there's different cuts. There's 2 or 3 versions of these movies. So I went and watched some of these other versions and compared them. So I'm going to go through these the movies and maybe suggest which version you should watch. Just give my thoughts. This is upside down. Oh my god. Oh. Okay. So the first movie in the set is Drunken Master 2. Obviously a sequel to Drunken Master. And this was released in the US as Legend of Drunken Master, theatrically and on DVD. Um, and it's from 1994. This is more or less like a 90s version of one of Jackie's movies from the 70s, and directed by the legendary Lau Kar-leung. And I'm going to probably be mispronouncing some of these names, so just be aware. Jackie Chan, I can get, but so the plot summary: when a smuggling ring plots to steal China's crown jewels, only one man, legendary drunken fist master Wang Fei Hung, possesses the courage and ferocity to stop the ruthless gang. So, Wang Fei Hung is sort of a legendary folk hero in China. There's a bunch of movies based on his character. Most famously, the Once Upon a Time in China series with Jet Li playing him. So this is that same character. And out of all of the movies in the set, this is like the more conventional martial arts movie, but still with Jackie's humor in it. I think the final fight scene in this movie is the best fight scene out of all of these movies, in my opinion. And there's actually 3 different versions on this disc: the international version, the US version, and the Hong Kong version. Notes here. The version I recommend watching is the Hong Kong version. This is the full version of the movie. The international and the US version both cut the ending in various places. Um, so I don't want to give away the ending, but like there's a whole coda that's in that's entirely cut out of the international version, and then the U.S. version awkwardly has like half that final scene. And if you just watch the Hong Kong version, it's the complete final scene. Um, so I would just watch the Hong Kong version. You don't really need the other two versions. Except the other part of it is the U.S. version has a different score when they brought it over to the U.S. And there is that song where Jackie, the "I Hate My Daddy" song in the middle of the movie. It's different depending on which version. Um, I think the U.S. version is different, but I don't really like that song or that scene in particular, so I don't really care. And then amusingly, the U.S. version, like the end credits, has this like really shitty '90s rock music. Um, that's pretty out of place. And then, so if you do the Hong Kong version, um, yeah, there's a couple different dubs. The the English dub is pretty goofy, and it's not Jackie dubbing his own voice. It's somebody else that doesn't sound anything like Jackie. But watching I I kind of like the English dub just because the movie is partially a comedy, and some of the voice acting is really goofy, but it actually made me laugh, especially um, the Anita Mui character. Like her dubbing on that version is actually pretty funny. It reminded me of like someone who dubs like Nickelodeon cartoons, dubbing her voice. Um, but it also just has the original Cantonese if you want to go in that direction. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and this is these first two movies are my two favorites out of this set. So this is Drunken Master 2 is probably my second favorite in this box set. Really amazing stunts, and there's just like a lot of goofy dialogue and such. Yeah, I mean that's part of it, but the problem is with the English dub, like the guy who dubs Jackie is kind of annoying. But if you can look past that, I kind of like the English dub. Um, all right, Rumble in the Bronx. This is Stanley Tong directed it. Also, these have reversible artwork. Like this, I really like the new artwork they commissioned, and it just has the regular poster on the other side. This is probably my favorite movie out of all of these, which is maybe an obvious thing to say, but yeah, Jackie visits and helps his uncle in New York City and finds himself forced to fight a street gang and the mob with his martial arts skills. So this is in uh, standard martial arts fashion. You have a martial arts master go visit a bad neighborhood, and a gang starts picking on him. Jerks. Um, this is Uncle Bill is getting married, and he runs a grocery store in Chinatown, and these hoodlum guys in this motorcycle gang come in and harass the people who work at the store. And it is like a ridiculous 90s motorcycle gang with different ethnicities and like just nonsensical styling. But I kind of like it. And then the smoking hot Francois Yip is the sympathetic gang member, and then she's also Jackie's love interest. And she's an exotic dancer and has a crippled little brother. Maybe I should not use that word. His legs don't work, whatever, however you want to phrase that. And he's a Jets fan, so he's emotionally crippled as well from being beaten down from his Jets fandom emotionally. And my favorite action scene in this is probably the parking garage scene where he's being chased by the gang, and then that secondarily when he fights them at the gang hangout, and there's all those bits with the refrigerators and stuff. Yeah, I will say that normal stuff like that's like a foreign drama. Normally, I would want to watch it in the original language, but martial arts comedies, especially, I will watch them with the English dub. Now I watched both I'd only seen the U.S. version, and this has both the U.S. and the Hong Kong version. They are quite different. It's like the Hong Kong version, I think, is 16 minutes longer. And then it's a mixture of Cantonese and English. And then the U.S. version is more in English with a little bit of Cantonese. And one funny thing is that at the beginning of the U.S. version, Uncle Bill and Jackie are in the car, and then Uncle Bill asks them, like, "How's your English? Can you speak English?" And then Jackie says, "Yeah," and then they start speaking English to each other. But if you watch the Hong Kong cut, they do the opposite. So this is like maybe the most clever way I've ever seen of dealing with this, where you would have characters that are speaking English to each other when you would expect them to speak Chinese. So in the Hong Kong version, Uncle Bill is like, "Hey, can you speak English?" And then Jackie's like, "Oh, my English is not very good," or something like that. And then they just speak Cantonese for the rest of the movie to each other. So they actually like knowingly tackle that logic problem of why these two Chinese men are speaking English to each other, or not speaking English to each other. Yeah, overall, I think the Hong Kong version is just too long. It does feel a little long if you've seen the US version. But overall, I guess it's better. The only violent or action thing that I noticed that was different was in the alleyway scene when Jackie's getting hit with the bottles from the gang. I think there's a little more of that in the Hong Kong version. But I think the biggest thing is just like some of the dubbing is pretty bad in the U.S. version, especially Anita Nui character. And then also, there's quite a bit of scenes of hers that are cut out of the US version. So her character plays better in the Hong Kong version. But I think the ideal version would be like if you took the Hong Kong version and then maybe cut like 6 or 7 minutes out of it and sort of split the difference. And then the other thing is the score is in the US version is kind of annoying. And not that the Hong Kong version score is that great or anything, but I don't know, it's very like mid-90s, over the top, annoying in comparison to the Hong Kong version. So, but overall, I think the US version is fine, but I could see why people prefer the Hong Kong version. But I don't think it's, one is a masterpiece and one sucks. Like basically all the good stuff is still in the US version. Other than maybe a little bit, like I said, with that bottle attack scene. But yeah, so this is my favorite movie in the box set. Oh shit. And then Thunderbolt is the next one, 1995. I'd never seen this before. I don't think I'd even heard it, or maybe I had heard it. This is Gordon Chan directed it. He also did Fist of Legend. Plot summary: in order to release his kidnapped sister, sports car mechanic Chan Fo 2 has to beat a super criminal street racer. So this is like sort of comparable to like Fast and the Furious. And there's two versions of the movie. The main one is the original Hong Kong cut is an hour and 51 minutes. It feels really long. I found that the first 30 minutes are pretty boring. There's two good action scenes. There's one, the standout action scene is at a pachinko parlor. There's a scene where Jackie fights a bunch of Yakuza guys, and that scene is pretty awesome. And then there's a sort of a Buster Keaton-esque bit where Jackie is in one of those, whatchamacallit, truck compartments, and it's being lifted by a crane, and then it's like falling out of it. That scene is pretty good. But the sort of bad aspect of this movie is that it just ends with a stock car race with the villain. In order to save the day, he just races the villain rather than you would hope it would be a big fight scene, but that's not the case. But at least it does have the one really good fight scene in it. But this is probably my least favorite of the movies in the box set. The other cut is the Japanese cut, which is an hour and 37 minutes. But this is in lower quality. It's not in 4K. It's like in low quality high def. And in that version, the best scene, the pachinko fight scene, is cut by 3 minutes. So definitely, I mean, you can watch this version, but definitely the Hong Kong version is better, as you get that whole fight scene. And this is, out of all of these, this was the one that was never theatrically released in the U.S., which is a little surprising considering like how well Rumble in the Bronx did in the U.S. box office. You'd think it would be able to get some kind of release, but Um, yeah, Thunderbolt. It's okay. What's the next one? Police Story 4. There we go. Police Story 4 First Strike. And this is also Stanley Tong. He did Rumble in the Bronx. And this is sort of Jackie doing James Bond. And it is called Police Story 4. And it is technically a Police Story sequel in that it has the same Uncle Bill and Jackie's same character, but it does not feel like a sequel to the previous 3 police stories at all. So I would just look at it as Jackie doing a James Bond parody. And plot. Let me get some more real quick. Oh. A cop participates in a sting operation on an international spy ring, but when one of them gets away, Jackie is ordered to apprehend him. This leads Jackie all over the globe, starting in Australia. The story follows him as he tries to stay alive and trying to locate a missing nuclear warhead. So basically, this is just like a cop just has this very minor task involved with the spy ring, and then accidentally gets put in the position where he has to become like a James Bond type character, but he's ill-equipped to do so. So that's where the comedy comes from. And the opening scene in the movie is kind of almost like a parody of the opening of A View to a Kill, like the whole snowboarding chase scene. And there's there's that international aspect where he's going around the world. Like when he has a hotel room in Australia, he has a pet koala staying with him, which is funny, and he has his koala underwear. But then a lot of the movie takes place around an aquarium in Australia. Oh, excuse me. So I like the aquarium stuff, just more cute, but it feels a little different. It feels different than the rest of the movie, which is more James Bond-esque. And there's a lot of hot Australian ladies just in the background in this movie. It's just something I noticed. Oh, when he's in Australia, I should say. Yes. Comedy. Timing. So in the 2 different versions, there's a Hong Kong cut, which is an hour and 47 minutes, and the international cut, which is an hour 24. So the international cut, they just really just hack and slash through the plot. I would recommend the Hong Kong cut because that feels more like the James Bond parody, whereas they cut out there's a lot of James Bond-esque plot that they cut out of the international version. And also the international version has a different score, which is more of a James Bond parody score. So I kind of like the score of the international version, but the actual movie itself, I prefer the Hong Kong version. Interestingly, there's a really funny scene where Jackie falls in a shark tank, and he thinks a shark is following him, He sees the fin, but it's actually a seal. Um, and the seal like shakes his hand afterwards. It's a really funny scene. But in the I noticed that in the Hong Kong version, they do Jaws parody music during that scene naturally, but they don't have the Jaws parody score in the international version. Maybe they were trying to avoid a copyright issue or something. And also the in the Hong Kong version, people are speaking their various different languages, so it makes a lot more sense because you have like Russians speaking to uh, somebody from China, and I think there's even a Ukrainian guy, and then there's people who speak English. So they're speaking their various languages to each other, and it's subtitled. Whereas in the international cut, everyone's just speaking English, even though they wouldn't necessarily understand each other. Yeah, so I would recommend the Hong Kong cut, but it is 23 minutes longer. So the international cut does really fly by, but the Hong Kong cut makes more sense and it has more of that James Bond feel. And I would rank this somewhere in the middle. I kind of have like the next three movies I kind of have ranked in the middle together. I'm not sure where I would rank this. But basically like second tier after Rumble in the Bronx and Drunken Master 2. Okay, Mr. Nice Guy is the next one. This is the artwork. What's the kind of generic? This is 1997, directed by the great Sammo Hung. And the plot summary: Melbourne journalist Diana takes evidence against a drug lord, but on her way away from the scene, she is spotted and has to run. And runs into into Jackie Chan, a TV cook. I took this from IMDb. This is kind of awkward. Whose knowledge of martial arts helps her survive the threat. Accidentally, her VHS tape then gets mixed up with some kids' films in Jackie's car, and so all the bad guys go after him as well as Diana, without him knowing where to find the right tape. But when Jackie's visiting girlfriend Miki gets kidnapped for the tape as ransom, Jackie puts the image of being the nice and friendly TV cook aside and goes to see the gang leader himself to get her back. Basically, it's a journalist investigating a drug operation, and then Jackie accidentally gets involved, and he plays a TV cook in Australia that everybody loves. And in some of these movies, he's just named Jackie Chan. They don't even bother giving him a character. Why bother? So this is basically like a wrong guy thriller. There's a great horse carriage chase scene that has some really funny bits. I like when the girl just face plants like on top of the horses. I thought that was the funniest stunt. And you have the hot redhead Aussie journalist. There's a chase scene where she's being chased in her underwear. Has to hide in the store and pretend to be a mannequin. So that's pretty classic comedy. And also so directed by Sammo Hung. He has a really funny cameo where he plays a bike courier, and he just shows up, and then someone just yells at him that he's fat, and he like hits a car and face plants. It's pretty funny. It's nice to see like a self-deprecating director cameo, because Hitchcock would do him. He would do him for comedy, but he wouldn't like get called a fatty and then face plant. So I do like that. And then this one does have 3 cuts. There's the Japanese cut, hour 37, Hong Kong cut, hour 36, and the international cut, hour 28. I would just recommend the Japanese cut. The difference between the Japanese cut and the Hong Kong cut is just there's a dinner table scene. But again, it's only maybe a minute, 90 seconds. And it's basic. I like it because I'm fat, and there's a lot of awesome Chinese food in this scene. But also it plays into the idea that Jackie's this great chef, so they make this fill a table with all of his recipes, and then enjoy his food. So it ties into his character. So I think it's a good scene to have. It's not really a big deal though. The international cut, I would not recommend because they cut some of the stuff from the fight scenes in order to avoid an R rating. And it does have a different score. So for this, I would recommend the Japanese cut. Yeah, and this one is good. I would rank it, in that sort of second tier. So definitely well worth watching. And finally, Who Am I, 1998. This is directed by Benny Chan and Jackie Chan. I don't think they're related. Benny Chan did a bunch of movies. He did Moment of Romance and Big something. I can't remember. But the plot in this, Jackie is a top secret soldier that crashes into the South African jungle after his mission of kidnapping 3 scientists has gone awry. Waking up in a village of local natives, Chan has no memory of who he is, thus being addressed as Who Am I? His journey with aid from 2 female sidekicks to find out his identity leads him all the way to Rotterdam, where he discovers the location of the organization that kidnapped the 3 scientists. So you can look at this as sort of like a Born Identity type story. It's like the super spy with amnesia. And I do like they call him Who Am I? So it's sort of like Who's on First type gag. Where that's not his, people think that's, the African tribe think that his name is Who Am I? But he's asking Who am I? He doesn't know his name. So it's like a Who's on First thing. And it's almost like I want to say there's like a Three Stooges movie where they join like an African tribe or a short. So it reminds me of like a 30s or 40s gag where he falls out of a plane and onto near an African tribe, and then he just ends up joining the tribe. Like very, very old school comedy, but I do like that. And then there's one of the 2 girls. There's the reporter girl, and then the Japanese girl Yuki. And I like his back and forth with Yuki. Like a couple times she tries to snap him out of his amnesia. Like she tries to scare him, or she just slaps his face. He's like, "Oh, I'm just trying to help." That stuff was good. And then in this movie, a lot of the stunts are sort of saved to the second half. There's a really fun car chase where Yuki's driving the car. And then there's two different cuts of the movie. The Hong Kong cut is 2 hours, and then the international version is 1 hour 48. So the international version, there is a scene missing where Jackie has to escape from the lion, and he's like teaming up with this tribal kid. I do like that stuff, and that's missing from the international version. And the other thing I don't like is that in the Hong Kong cut, it makes it a mystery as to how Jackie lost his memory. But then the international cut, they just tell you right away. So they just re-edit it in that way. Yeah, I will say for that type of plot, this seems like they're trying to be not offensive. I don't know, but what do I know about African tribes relative to how the Three Stooges would have portrayed them? But maybe somebody would be offended by this movie. And the other thing I don't like about the international cut is that in the Hong Kong cut, they do the gag where there's a stunt and they show it from a different angle. And some martial arts movies do this, like Ong Bak does that, and I kind of like that, where they do like Jackie does some really awesome stunt, and they do like let's see that in slow mo from a different angle. In the international cut, they cut out all of those different angles. But other than that, the Hong Kong cut does feel a little long, but I guess it's better because of those, for me, because of those three reasons. Yeah, again, it's sort of like a joke version of the Bourne Identity. And it's not one of the better. I would probably rank this like second to last after Thunderbolt, but it's still good. There's some really funny scenes in it, some really good stunts. I love the car stunt where they're trying to get through, flip it on its side to get through that little space, and she keeps spinning it around. That whole gag. That's a lot of fun. Oh, that's all 6 movies. So I gave my recommendations as to which cut to watch, and it also comes with a poster. So this is a Drunken Master 2, and then this is a great poster. I have way too many posters, but this would be a cool one to hang up. But this is the U.S. Rumble in the Bronx poster, where it talks about all of Jackie's injuries. And then it comes with lobby cards also. So there's a bunch of them. So on each lobby card, one side and then the original poster on the other. So this is Who Am I? I'm not going to go through all of them. There might be like 20 or so. There you go. This is Thunderbolt. You got the bikini girls in Thunderbolt cheering him on. There you go. I got these out of order now, so I fucked up. Oh, shit. And then it comes with a big fat book. I think it's 158 pages. And I actually read this entire thing. So I think it's a really good primer on Jackie's career and these movies in particular. There's a really good, from the mid-90s, an interview with Jackie, interspersed with an essay about his career. I think it's from the Bright Lights Film Journal. Yeah, An Evening with Jackie Chan. And there's just a lot of really interesting details in there and behind the scenes details. The only thing is that this is already falling apart. That page is coming out. So maybe that's just because of my meaty hands are ripping through this thing. But be forewarned. Maybe other copies are falling apart. Okay, that's it for the Jackie Chan box set. Again, you should still be able to get this. Barnes & Noble is doing 50% off this month. Here's the actual box. Yeah, the movies all look excellent. There's tons of audio options. So even on these different cuts, you might even have English dubs. You have multiple English dubs sometimes. So if you're a fan of Jackie, I highly recommend this set. And also, yeah, the other point was that people have been saying they've had playback problems or various issues with this set. I did not have any issues. So I played all the discs. I watched the different cuts. There wasn't any where it wouldn't play, or I heard there was something wrong with the HDR on some of the movies for some people, but I didn't have any problems. So this might be a player thing. I have a Sony player. All right. Thank you, Scott and James. I think we'll close it off on that. I wanted to get my thoughts out on Jackie's box sets and the Kill Bill release, and Nightmare on Elm Street. Now we are back on Scott, Eli, and I. We'll be back Saturday after next, whichever, what is that, the 15th? Talk about what we've been watching. Probably talk more about the Odyssey, because I think Eli will have seen it by then. And talk about Skinheads from 1989, Chuck Connors taking out some Nazis, neo-Nazis, taking out some scum. That'll be fun. So tune in. It's going to be on the 15th, 1 p.m. Eastern. And I appreciate everyone for watching. I'll probably make a couple clips and send them out. And then if anybody wants the Kill Bill Blu-rays in the podunk packaging or the digital copy, just leave a comment on the Kill Bill clip, whatever clip I put out. And then we'll figure it out. All right. Thank you. I have some links, Instagram, Letterboxd, and email. And thank you for watching. Have a wonderful night.